What must you do, and what must you have to operate a successful strategic fighter control system? Were original doctrines correct? If not, how did they have to be changed? Answers to the last two questions are here. To the first, in the chapter on recommendations. The AAF learned a great deal through the experience of the 65th Fighter Wing and its sister organizations in these 2 years. It is true that certain of the lessons stated here may not be confirmed elsewhere, in theaters that's blessed with permanent, stable communications, or in theaters where base areas are less well protected than most England by the RAF defensive control. It is therefore not suggested that here are complete answers to the AAF's control problems. These are just lessons learned at Saffron Walden. 1. True control in the strategic sense is a much broader thing than is ordinarily embraced by the term control. Implicit in strategic control is the absolute necessity for certain major decisions to be made by the people who planned each mission. It was found in the 8th that there had to be people called controllers on duty at Air Force, at Fighter Command, and at Air Division headquarters during every mission to take the information supplied by the control rooms and apply to it the judgment that could be based only on a complete knowledge of why each detail of the mission was planned in exactly the way it was. These people were called controllers for want of a more definitive term, but they actually were more like mission directors. 2. Strategic control works best when centralized. From the beginning, there were those in the 8th Air Force who felt there should be but one wing control room, not 3. It was amply borne out in 1945 that the concentration of control at Saffron Walden made for greater efficiency. Implicit in this lesson is corollary, that every facility needs an alternative facility standing by for instant use. 3. Control communication with the bombers is essential. Assuming bomber support to be a prime mission of strategic fighters, fighter control is also bomber control, and there must be a continuous flow of information to the control center on the progress of each bomber force. This information must be precise and complete, and it must reach control direct, not through devious channels, because of the 4th lesson, which is 4. Time is of the essence. Inevitably, no matter what the war or what the equipment, strategic aircraft will be working at maximum range, and limited fuel will ever be a problem. Control decisions to meet emergencies must be made promptly. All the necessary facts must be at hand, and the mission director and controller must have the authority to act without the delay of referring to someone else. This leads to the 5th lesson. 5. Chief controllers must be high caliber, capable of making important decisions. This implies not only with an high degree of training, but also innate strengths of character to maintain a firm grip on a situation under conditions of stress that can tear the heart out of a man. This lesson was learned by the RAF quite early in the game. 6. The principle of separating offensive strategic control from defensive control is sound. Each is a specialized task, and the two do not mix very well. 7. Everything depends on communications that work. You can't afford to gamble on the quality of your communications. Equipment must be the latest and best. The fixer crews, linemen, radio operators, maintenance crews, switchboard operators have got to be expert. There is no room for novices or apprentices, or for second-rate equipment. And this requirement carries far beyond the control system to the airfields and the maintenance of aircraft radios as well. 8. Management of control is an operations function, not a signal function. It is a mistake to have a signal officer in charge of a control unit, making decisions on the manner in which aircraft are to be controlled. The job of the signal people is to meet as nearly as possible the requirements of control as outlined by operations staff, and supply technical advice on the proper use of communications and detection equipment, not to prescribe control procedure or methods, ops room layouts, etc. 9. As a corollary of 8, Complete knowledge of the capabilities of communications is an essential qualification for a controller. 10. PPI controlling has certainly proved itself in combat as the best technical advancement thus far. 11. Efficiency suffers unless control equipment has the same range as the aircraft. This means both control communications and detection apparatus. It is not healthy to run missions beyond control range. Efficiency is in inverse ratio to the distance. The greater the penetration, the less information is available. 12. Everything possible must be done to make complete weather information instantly available to all controllers. 13. There must be complete intercontrol liaison. No control of present-day type can work successfully in isolation. Full knowledge is needed of all other operations planned or in progress in the same area. For a strategic air force, this usually takes in the entire theater. 14. Control and combat operations, A3, must work as one. The ideal arrangement is to have the combat ops office physically adjacent to and overlooking the control room. This is because inescapably control must be considered an integral part of every planned operation. There can be no secrets, one from the other. 15. Control and intelligence. A2 must work closely together, much more closely than indicated in pre-war doctrine. Strategic control cannot be wholly successful except as the controllers know and understand the enemy, the habits and capabilities of the hostile control, the locations and strength of enemy forces. It is an important A2 responsibility to keep control posted on these matters. The control room also originates much intelligence that must be got into A2 channels at once. Intelligence personnel belong in every control room. 16. The setup of a chief controller flanked by A, his deputy, and B, a staff officer to handle Y service, is good. The deputy needs to be of chief controller caliber, and the staff officer must be A, enough of an intelligence officer to correctly interpret the enemy's actions, and B, enough of a controller to be able to act on this information on behalf of the chief controller if necessary. 17. Personnel contact among controllers and pilots is very important. Visits of controllers to groups and squadrons, visits of pilots to the ops room, always result in more efficiently run missions. The RAF has learned this lesson even better than the Americans. The important thing here is that the controllers must appreciate the point of view of flying leaders, that flyers have no interest in control per se, but only as control fits into their bigger program of waging war against the enemy. A good controller talks the language of the flying leaders. 18. Pressure cannot be relaxed on aircrew training in the use of the radio and in the capabilities of control on all channels. It is astonishing how little knowledge of control the average pilots may have after even months of operations, unless this point has been pressed. It is a responsibility of control to see that this training is included in every prescribed program. 19. R/T discipline among all controllers and pilots is most essential because of the limited numbers of channels available and for security reasons to prevent the enemy's Y service from being as useful as ours. 20. Pilots with combat experience do not necessarily make better controllers. The wing found at Saffron that an individual's adaptability to control training apparently had no correlation to his aptitude as a combat flyer, but that most pilots with operational experience were restive and ill at ease in control assignments, probably because their main interest still in combat flying, and not in anything else. 21. More radio channels are needed. 2 illustrations will suffice. 1. Lack of extra channels in the fighters deprived some pilots of the use of the 8th Air Force Common. C. Channel when it became necessary to split up the C channel work on separate air division frequencies. 2. Lack of channels prevented fuller use of the VHF radio beam at a time when it could have been of great value for homing. 22. In outside communications, it is better to have practically all lines go through switchboards and panels rather than direct from position to position. This provides a very useful flexibility, and with good operators, the time lag is negligible.